Well, for safety, we have to, because once it is out, we got to get it out.
So this is my last day standing up here, and it reminds me a little bit of retirement. And it makes me think of this story of these two old guys sitting in their nursing home out on the porch drinking some lemonade. And one asks the other, says, "Ralph, I'm 92 years old and even my aches have pains. You must be close to my age. How are you feeling?" Ralph says, "Like a brand new baby." He says, "No kidding, like a brand new baby. Yep, no teeth, no hair, and wet diapers." Ain't it the truth? Today is National Handshake Day, and it's probably one of the most ancient forms of a greeting. And we don't know of the origin of the handshake, but we know that it's probably at least 2,500 years old. And of course, there are secret handshakes, and the Freemasons are famous for that. So I would like for us today to celebrate Handshake Day by turning to your neighbor and shaking their hand. Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Jara, let's see, Mark DeGroff is going to do our Rotary Minute today.
Thank you, President Grace. Your retirement speech makes me nervous already. I just got volunteered to do this, and it's my honor to share very briefly that Toronto was incredible. Thank you for the opportunity to go to the International Rotary Conference. There were between 30 and 40,000 people there. There was also another significant event there that really staged and targeted Sunday as well, and over 1 million people pour into the city for that event. So it was a very busy time in Toronto. We had an incredible opportunity to learn so much about Rotary. If you haven't been to a Rotary event outside of our district or a Rotary International event, I would encourage you to look into that. It is amazing what Rotary is doing worldwide. Very, very quickly, we have chased Rotary internationally into 2 countries. So there's polio cases in only 2 countries. Thank you to Rotarians, to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and many, many other countries that have come in. Canada has pledged more than $100 million to that fight. And so far this year, we've only had 11 documented cases in the first 6 months. I firmly believe, and I heard over and over, that in this next 12 calendar months, we may lick polio. My best memory from this trip will be the Rotaract, the young Rotarian from the Toronto Rotaract group who was a volunteer there at the convention. And we were walking over to the General Assembly, and I was enough of an idiot, I didn't buy an umbrella. My wife and I typically jump in and out of places pretty quickly. And it was raining sideways. And he reached out his umbrella and he said, "Here, cover your wife, use my umbrella. It's okay for me to be wet." And we met. And when I introduced myself as an incoming president, and thanked him so much for his demonstration of the 4-way test and the way he was walking that out as a volunteer that weekend. That was truly inspiring to me. Anyway, I encourage you to visit more Rotarians outside of our district, to do that internationally, to do that on a service trip if you get a chance. And thank you for the opportunity to attend.
Thank you. Is going to do guest introductions, and while she's making her way up here, I hope you've seen a photo, a really bad picture going through here, because at the RI convention, our own Larry Dimmitt was installed and introduced as a Rotary International Director, which is an enormous honor, and we're so proud of him.
Well, today we want to welcome our guests. We hope that you enjoy good food, good conversation, and good hospitality. So we have two guests this morning. One is Yolanda Harrison, a guest of Linda Du Bois. Welcome. Hi, Yolanda. If you'd remain standing, and we get all both guests introduced. Our second guest is Blake Benton. And he's the guest of Joan Wagner.
Hi, Blake. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Blake is going to do the slideshow that will be on the side of the post office Saturday night during the Freedom Festival concert. He's a graphic artist. He works out of 712 Kansas Avenue, and you're going to see these marvelous images on the post office of Freedom, and that's why he's here today. So come Saturday night.
Glenda, did you have any comments?
Yes, I would also like to share that Alana is the intern in our office, but she is working with the pop-up park. She is coordinating all of the volunteers and all of the fantastic things that will happen along with Eric Purcell and others at the river on Saturday.
Well, great.
And she is a student at Washburn also.
Well, welcome. We are glad to have you here today.
I'm going to be asking you for a lot of money today. First of all, this is our last day for our month's featured charity, and it's Zion Williams, who's our outbound Rotary Youth Exchange student. So this will go directly to her to support her year in Denmark. So if you can please put lots of money in the cups today, that'd be wonderful. I have a really fun Rotary International toast today. And I don't know if, yes, right there it is. We had it at the RA convention. They served probably 10,000 people, and I was in line and turned around and saw this fellow with a Bangladesh name tag on. And so I struck up a very brief conversation. There were two of them, and this fellow just ran away. He said, wait. And he came back, because I said, I kind of welcomed him, said we had somebody in our club, and he ran away, and he came back really fast with his flag. And he gave me a flag. So today we are going to raise our glasses to the Rotary Club of Cox's Bazar, Shaikat, District 3282 in Bangladesh. The president is Bimal Chowdhury. So I would like you to really do a good one, because I'm definitely going to be back in touch. So raise your glasses. Here. Great, thank you. My next request, if you see my suitcase over there, that is going to be going to Guatemala in about 2 weeks. And one thing that I need to do to help these folks in this first world country is fill this with some very basic needs. And you'll find some sheets on your paper, I hope, on the tables, and I hope you'll take those home. I would be happy to accept those. I'll come pick them up from you. Used or new baby clothes, there's a whole list, pencils, toothbrushes. Or if you want to fill my suitcase with some money, I'll be happy to go shopping for that too. But I am expected to fill that, so please help me out with that. Also, it's not too late. We still have a couple of days to become a star club in Rotary, and we do that by giving a total of $18,300 to the Rotary International Annual Fund. We are still about $5,000 short, and if anybody's feeling like this is calling you, come and talk to me and I will chip in. We got 2 days to make $5,000. If we don't, it's okay, because you're awesome anyway. Sue Bullock, if you want to come on up here, I will tell you the Freedom Festival this Saturday is on downtown. No changes because of the weather. And Sue will talk to us about what she needs to tell us. Here is the schedule for the day, so you can take a look at this and see what happens when. I hope to see all of you there.
Hi there. Hi there. The good news is, by the look of the sheets, we are going to see all of you there. I want to super duper thank you. Some of you have signed up for all day. Some of you have signed up to come down and close things out. In my moment of tears and nobody loves me and I hate Rotary, lots of people came forward and said, I'll do whatever, just quit crying. So, thank you for that. Hooray! lots of you have assignments. We will be sending out emails. There are some changes, as always, when we have this many moving parts. So if you have been slipped up an hour or back an hour, if you think you don't have enough help, shoot me an email. We'll figure it out. We got hundreds of people coming. You're not going to be all by yourself in Topeka downtown. We are checking in and out of Constitution Hall. So please, as you're showing up for things, come and do that. I would also ask that while you are attending the event, that you are super aware of being a Rotarian and that you are welcoming people. One of the things we have found that is so helpful in so many events is to have somebody say, "I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming." I have purposefully reached out to lots of our groups. We have Topeka Pride coming. We have It Takes a Village coming. We have lots of people who are at free lunch at different churches that we have reached out to come to. And they will feel a little awkward about coming to a free place because that's not where they're usually invited. So if you would take a moment to extend your hand to someone you don't know and say, "Isn't this cool? It's hot as hell, but look how fun it is." I think that would be a great help to all of our community, and we'll look forward to seeing you down there. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to all of the people who have put in so much work on this event for Saturday, and I know it's going to be lots of fun. We have 3 proposed member announcements. The first is Allison DeGroff, who is Mark's wife. She is not able to be here today. She is the Director of Communications and Membership at the Kansas Medical Society. Lynette Jo Beck, who is David's wife, and these two are coming in under the family membership, and Lynette is an ambulatory social worker at Stormont Vale and Cotton O'Neill. And finally, a community member, Bradley Hopper, who has Hopper Design Works, and again, Mark DeGroff has sponsored him. We have a red badge, and somebody's actually here to accept it. So Orion Jordan, I know you're here. Come on up, please. Except Linda, I don't have his badge. We'll pretend. Come on, Orion.
I thought the final count went the other way.
No, we voted the ballot box. So Orion, this is your pretend red badge. And we are so thrilled to have you as a full member of our club. And you are one of us in every respect. This red badge, soon to have your name on it, will represent the fact that you are a member here. Now it is red rather than blue. You see a lot of blue badges out here. And this just says that you are a newer member and that everyone will super reach out to you to be extra nice. And we would love for you to turn this into a blue badge. And the way to do that, once you get through orientation, you'll find out it's just things to get you engaged in the club and get to know people better. So we are thrilled that you are a member of club. So let's stand and give him a round of applause.
Just call me Patty.
Okay, Patty.
Okay, well, thank you for all of that. Our speaker today will be introduced by Karen Hiller.
Come on up, John. All right. I have the pleasure of introducing John Hunter, whom everybody knows, right? Or almost everybody. Come on up, John. Just as a refresher, John is a professor emeritus from Washburn University, where he held various positions over 42 years with the university. Most of them teaching and some administrative, right? Fundraising. He ended his career at that time at Washburn. He ended his career after Washburn by serving 3 years as the executive director of Heartland Visioning. Over his time in Topeka, John has been involved with multiple large-scale community projects. Most recently, TPAC, Topeka Performing Arts Center, the Great Overland Station, and as most of you are aware, development of NOTO, the North Topeka Arts District. John is now retired from Heartland Visioning as well, but is still very much involved with NOTO and Riverfront Development. Those were his two retirement projects, right, John? And John and I have both been pretty steady warmers of the backbench at Riverfront meetings for the last number of years. John, whom, again, if you know him, steps forward and just says, well, let's just do something, has stepped forward to take some leadership in action, particularly from the north side. And so he's here to share with you some of the progress and opportunities.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that's nice. Can you see the slide? All right. Everybody over here can see it too? So I'm not very good behind a podium, so I might walk around a little bit. I hope that doesn't bother you. So I'm going to tell you a story today. I don't have any prepared notes up here. I do have this PowerPoint presentation that I hope you enjoy. I also hope it's thoughtful, something you can reflect upon, and something that you can get excited about because it also represents the future and what's coming here in Topeka. And truly, that is exciting. Let me begin by saying, just like TPAC and the development of NOTO, project development takes time and is complex. And it never falls, under one hat. It is a multitude of hats. It is through partnership and collaborations that everything gets done. Now, do you need leadership in those areas? Yes, and we are absolutely blessed in this community to have a great many leaders who, when the time comes and we make the ask, they will say, yes, I'm there for you. So let me get started. I'll try not to talk too long on any one of these, and then see if there's some questions that you might have, because again, I may not be able to say everything about what's going on just with these slides here. But there is, can I move here? Yes, I guess I can. You recognize this? Have you been looking at this for just a second to see what this represents? So let me see if I can point it out to you. You know when you drive over to the bridge on a first Friday night to NOTO, and the people over in NOTO, if they were here, they would say how they want to put NOTO letters right here on the granary. That's where that is, right there. And we always drive over the bridge and there's that building with the bricked up walls. That's where that is, right down there. So, that's gone. If you look over here, you can see part of that railroad trestle. I can tell you where that is. In fact, I'm going to show you where the steel is because we are working on a plan right now to get rid of that. This is the 1951 flood. This is the 1951 flood. You can see the amount of damage this did. And it sat around forever and ever and ever. When we did the NOTO project, when Anita and I started cutting our teeth on that, this is what North Topeka looked like in the flood. In fact, if you go into the North Topeka Arts Center, you'll see a markup on the wall about 12 feet high, and see how high up that water actually came. So when we started the NOTO project, this would have been in fall of '09 and moving into '10. We literally went into some buildings where the flood mud had to be cleared out of the basement as part of the projects that we were trying to do. Anywhere from 4 to 5 feet worth of flood mud over there. So that was certainly a devastating event. So then what happened historically? What happened? Well, the Army Corps of Engineers got involved, and everybody said we can't do this anymore. The economic impact on both sides of the river was tremendous. We had to do something about it. So the Army Corps of Engineers started working, and by 1959, 8 years later, we had our levees. We were now protected. But here's what else happened. If you go back and you talk to some of the people who were around at the time and you pick up on stories, here's what you hear. Oh, you can't go down on the levees anymore because the levees are there Can't do that. Oh, we can't go into the river anymore because they're protected by the levees, and, well, we're not sure about the river water, and we're not sure if it's safe anymore, and all of that steel that's in the water, oh, you can't get into. And what happens, now think about it, 1959, how many generations of 20 and 30-year-olds who would love to have been going kayaking and boating on this river, how many of them just completely forgot about our river? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll bet you there's some of you even here today who have forgotten about our river. Well, we're about ready to change all of that. The Army Corps is in town. They're working on the levees. They're expected to be out of here by 19, which is great because that fits for the timing of everything. So here was the very first big project that had to be resolved. This is what we call the upstream weir. This is the water intake. This is where we get all of our drinking water from. And this is designed so that the river is pushed to the south side, and that's why you have the flow here, and then the north side is basically blocked off. Again, it's to divert the river water over here for our water intake. So this is the plan right now. This plan has been developed by City Engineering. It is currently out for bid. They're going to start this in September. They hope to have it done by January. If not, they'll have it done by early spring. This is what we call the replacement upstream weir water intake. So here's where the water intake was, right here. They're going to open up the north end of it. They're going to reconfigure everything that's happened here because some of you may remember that some people went over that in canoes and they got caught into the undertow and drowned. We had to put a stop to that. So the lower half there, the south side, is going to get re-engineered. And if you notice up here, you see these pools? That's a whitewater rafting chute, a whitewater rafting chute. And then on top of that, there's going to be a new canoe portage. So very shortly, a year from now, people will be putting in at the new state park up behind the governor's mansion. You know where that is, if you haven't seen it? Great big hunk of concrete that runs right down to the water where we can put in boats. You'll be able to start up there and float right down through this. If you are a kayaker, you can go bouncing right through that whitewater rafting chute, which should be a lot of fun. If you're in your canoe, you just pull it off to the side, go through a new portage, get out on the other side of it, and continue to float down. So this is underway. This was probably a 5 to 6 year project for development. So once we knew that that was going forward, and we knew a time frame for the Army Corps of Engineers, then the volunteer citizens could start thinking about other ideas. And so here's a bunch of us back in 2017. Beth Fager, many of you recognize Beth, one of the great leaders in our community and very much involved in the Great Overland Station project. So we literally took a bunch of us and we went tromping through the weeds and we walked right down to the river. Now this area that we're looking at, we're right in front of the Great Overland Station. We just went down onto that big floodplain and walked right on down there. Bill Rippon was with us and he was demonstrating to us that you could actually walk on water. And we could actually get out into it and maybe we could do something about this area over here. Well, at that time, where's Joan? Where's Joan? There's she is. Joan, I'm putting in a plug for you, Joan. Joan. Oh, she's on her phone. Of course, I'm already boring here. Okay. Anyway, so last year, when Beth was working with Joan, Joan, I think we had a month when we brought you the idea that we were going to do a pop-up park.
It was less than a month.
Less than a month. So in less than a month's time, we started looking at this area, and again, I'll show you one others, but the top slide, which is a little fuzzy, I'm sorry about that, but the pictures were so small. That's what it looked like when we were tromping through the weeds. Then, working with the city, they came in with crews, and that's what they were able to turn it into. Now you start going, well, that looks pretty inviting down there, doesn't it? In fact, if you really get exciting, that's our Capitol Dome right there, and that's what you see. So the views, you go, oh, that might be worth doing something. There's what it looks like a little bit closer up. So, before we started the work on the Freedom Frontier Pop-Up Park in 17, a bunch of us got in a plane and flew down to Oklahoma City. What you are looking at is a river that used to have in the city budget for the Oklahoma City, so that they could mow their river twice a year. You think ours is bad, you should have seen what they had. But what did they do? The same kind of components that we're trying to achieve today. They put in upstream weir, downstream weirs, they backed up the water, they filled in, and they built what is now called the Boathouse District and the Boathouse Foundation. They now work internationally down here. They have kayak races. They've gotten all of their corporations involved. And you know what I really like about this picture? It's not just the flat water. Here's what I like about this photo. Can anybody tell me what that looks like over there?
Yeah.
Trains. It's a railroad yard. It's a railroad yard. So when you're talking about investments, and I'll show you a couple of pictures here, when you're talking about multi-million-dollar investments, they did it in an area, and right across from where all of this investment were railroad yards. And when you talk to the people down there, they go, well, yeah, it's our railroad yard, so we're doing some beautification along a little bit of their levee area over there. But otherwise, it's about cooperation and partnerships and accepting what you have, you know, and it's still making something out of that that has value. This is what the Boathouse District looks like. Now, I have this slide up here because you see those nice clean pillars that they have down there? Yeah, I'm going to show you something. It's another project that we have to do. This is their kayak and canoe storage. This is just one of their 3 barns that they have down there. We have an opportunity as we move forward that we can have our own boathouse over on the north side as well. We're not going to start with a great big one. Let me tell you this is so exciting. When we met with the head of the foundation down there, he said, we got started with a wooden shack. We put some plywood sheets together. That's how we got started. Well, I think we're well down the road from a plywood shack. But the fact is, that's what they started with, and this is where they're at today. So, we went back, we worked with the West Star Green Team, we worked with the city, we worked with the county, and we went down there and we got rid of all of those weeds and we laid down this nice mulch. And this is that area that Beth and I, Bill Rippon and the rest of us were standing in only less than a year before. In fact, on this, because this was tied in with the Freedom Festival last year, this is the airboat, the River Rescue Airboat. They were out there doing some maneuvers for us and showing things off. So what's the big difference? Well, we got a little money, some of the volunteers, we worked on this, but the result was people came down there, people had picnics on the river for the first time since 1951. Now, doesn't that look like a nice family adventure right there? Now picture that times 10, times 20, times 100. The distance that we're talking about over there on that side of the river is approximately 4 football fields in length and a football field in width. That's a sizable piece of open property. So development is very, very possible over there. We're not talking about buildings and things like that. We're talking about walkways and opportunities, and then you put in a concrete picnic table and a concrete bench, and just like on the creek down there by the plaza in Kansas City, you know, the river comes up, which it will, into that area, 12 to 15 feet, it could rise. And then when it goes back down, you just bring in a fire hose and you wash down the sidewalks, and you wash down the concrete picnic tables, and people come right back down. So, that was last year. We were very excited. Then we didn't know really where we were going to go from there, but things started coming together, and once again we had to bring in some leadership and volunteers. We had to start talking, particularly in this case, with the city. And this has become quite the project, because here's what we now know. Again, complex, big projects are complex and they take time, right? When we started on this next project, the issue was, in spring of 19, people are going to get on the river because the new whitewater rafting and the portage area, that's all going to open up. And when they come start floating down and waving to all of us standing on the shore in downtown area, then they go toward the corner, and that's what they could run into. That is a lineup of steel, and it's ugly, and it's right in a channel area. And when the river goes up, that could be, you know, only 2 inches underwater, you wouldn't even know it's there until you hit it with your raft or your canoe or your kayak. Yeah. So this is all about a safety project. So we've been working on this. And remember when I pointed out those pillars down in Oklahoma City? Look at the pillars here. So I'm going to put this down for a second. So tell me, who on the bottom of one of these builds something that is square? Because when things float down the river, they hit square and then they just pile up. Why wouldn't you put a bolt point on them so things would come and move on either side of them and then you wouldn't have this garbage? Well, because again, things were done by people who never thought anything about, you know, the environment and quality of place and the quality of life that we could have with this. So now the issue is, if we don't do something about this in the near future, then at different times during the course of the year, this stuff can break free and then start spilling down. What we want, our goal is to make our river where you can get on it. And yes, at times, during the flooding times, during high water and rainstorm times, yeah, there are trees floating down our river. But we don't want them to stop here. We're so kind neighbors. We're very happy to deliver them to Lawrence, Kansas. I like that idea a lot. There's another picture. This is the main channel right now to go through. That's a big sandbar. That's why there's snow on it. And but once the river is opened up, because the river backs up from that steel, we don't know exactly what the river's going to do, but we know it'll have more of a free flow, so we expect some of that to open up more. So then we started working with a company. We actually found a company called Medco. They actually do underwater diving in rivers, and they do steel cutting and welding. So we're working with them, and they're going to be here in September, but we had to do some things. They said, well, can you get us a measurement on the steel? Can you get us a clean count? Can you get us photos? So what did the volunteers do? We went into the river. And that's what that sandbar looks like at low tide. If you notice, you go into the river, you know that adage, what they say, if you tip over in your kayak or your canoe, what do? You just stand up. You just stand up, right? So that's Bob Fincham. He's on our team. He's a retired architect, and he's just standing up. So you see some of the steel that's out and away from that fence line of the big I-beams. We'll cut that away and get that cleaned up as much as possible. That's what these puppies look like up close. Again, we went in there, measured them. We measured the depth down into the water. Most of them will be cut about 6 feet in length. And because we're going to cut them below the water line at lowest flow time period, which will be next in September, is a low flow time period, chances are we've done due diligence and people will be able to float over those areas without getting ripped up, not only now, but for some time in the future. Again, nobody knows what the river is going to do. That's what it looks like up close. It's pretty ugly. So that's what the train trestle, the remnants of that train trestle. When that went down, the railroads cut out what they wanted to, and the rest of the water just ran over, and nobody bothered. Why? Because nobody thought we'd go out there and actually want to swim and boat and have fun in our river. Again, some more of the junk that we'll get rid of. Now, this is a problem. We have to get rid of this debris. I went to the North Topeka Business Alliance lunch last month. I stood up and I said, we got to get rid of this. And you know what? I have volunteers ready to go into the water with chainsaws. And we already have approval from Wildlife Parks and Tourism, because they said what was floating in the river can continue to float in the river. So if you want to cut it up and move it away from there, do it. And what did the steel cutting company say? They said, we can't cut that steel there. It's going to cost you more money. You go, well, guess what? We're going to have that out of there. You'll be able to just walk up, get down on your knees, reach down underwater with your cutting torches and cut it. Anybody want to take a quick guess as to what the original estimate for cutting 80 pieces of that steel? Anybody? Take a guess. Throw a number at me.
$45,000.
$45,000. Do I hear 50? Do I hear 50? 51, 50, going once, twice. Do I hear 100? Do I hear 100?
250.
All right, did you all finish your lunch? Good, because you swallow on this one. $18,000. Why? Because this is a national company that goes into rivers all over the United States, and they do welding and steel cutting and everything else. This is what they do. So they're going to send a 4-man team for a week. They're going to go in the water with welding torches, and they're going to cut this stuff out of here. We're going to start by cutting a hole in it, so we can put a hook in it. They're going to cut it, and the salvage company is going to drag it right out of the river. That's how it's going to get done. So that's the mess. There's another one of those pillars. You see what I mean? That's the follow-up project, because again, quality of life and quality of place means that we want that environment down in Topeka to look like the environment that they have down in Oklahoma City. There's no reason that has to be there. We can get in there and alter it by putting a point on it, and we can get it cleaned up, and then if we have the right organizational structure through Riverfront Authority, or whatever organization, I hope it's Riverfront, they can go on and do yearly management of those areas so that we never have to look at junk like that. Now in getting the stuff out of there, and I hope I don't bore you with this, but now I'm standing on the north side of the river. The steel is right up on top there. We have two choices. We can pull the steel out and pull it up that riprap, that's all that rock over there on the south side, or we can come over here on the north side and pull it out. But once we went over there and started photographing this to see if this would be an easier way to do it, we noticed other things. So for instance, right to my right, these are the original wooden poles that were used when the first railroad bridge was a trestle bridge made out of wood, out of trees. And they're still sticking in the water. So the commitment that we're trying to make is not a one-time effort. We need to attack it from all areas. It's ugly, it has debris, but again, once we get it out of there and then stay up with it, we can accomplish something. So that is going on. That's a project that's going on, and we're going to be able to achieve that. So then in preparation for the Freedom Frontier Festival and doing another pop-up park, last year we had just the single entry point. We decided this year that we're going to have 2 entry points. One, we'll put the canoes and kayaks in down by the Topeka Avenue Bridge, float them all the way down to the Kansas Avenue Bridge, and then bring them out. So this is our preparation. We sent in a team, again, of all volunteers, and we had pre-planned where we're going to make the cut, so you can see how we are cutting through from the floodplain down to the river. There's Eric Purcell. Eric, are you here? I saw you earlier.
He's gone, he's gone.
He's gone. All right, well there's Eric with one of those power tool things just cutting away for us. Great bunch of volunteers. I don't know how many of you know Ivan Weicker? You know Ivan? Yeah, Building Association. Catherine Hosfeld there. There's Bob Fincham, got out of the water and had his picture taken over here with this one here too. There's Eric. I don't know who the guy is in the middle. Mike Wilson, you know Mike Wilson, Architect 1. Look at Mike, spent all day with us over there doing things. It was a great time that we had. Corey Deal from Schwerk Design, he brought his lawnmower and he's out there cutting away, getting things done. Then as soon as we got the preliminary cut through, got the weeds cut down so that the next stage could happen, then Westar's green team, Ben Postlethwaite, came over and brought the big diggers. There's Ben Postlethwaite. They helped us last year do the first dig. And so they came back, look at that cut now. So that's the same one that we were working on where you saw Eric. That's all cut. The city forestry department dumped 8 loads of mulch sitting right above this. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, I'll be back down there again, and the city's coming in with a crew, and that's going to be all mulched over. So we will actually land people right down there at the bottom with their canoes and that, and we'll bring a truck with a trailer, we'll put it on, and bring it right up that area and take them back to the center point. So we'll have an entry area that, there's the upstream one. So this one is the one up close to the Topeka Avenue Bridge. That again is the cut. That'll be filled in with a nice mulch walkway. And they'll start there. We'll use our center area as a photograph area because people will be floating right by. You can wave to them and all of that and watch them go down. And then we'll pull them out at that other point. So this is not one of ours, but this is a picture that I had in my collection. This is what a float trip looks like, and this is what can happen. This is why we're doing what we're doing. Just last month, Eric put together with Robbie Saxon and some other people associated with Heartland Visioning and our Access the River Network team. And what did they, Glenda, wasn't there some 60 people went on a float?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like this, just like this. So this is what you can see with people getting on the river. This is what it would look like going through the whitewater rafting chute. And we, from what we've heard from the consultant who was first on our project, was if we can achieve this, you're going to start drawing people from all over the area who are going to want to come and have this kind of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is what our river looks like about 1/8 of a mile past the Topeka Avenue Bridge, if you were just walking on top of the levee. Can you believe that that pristine view has just been sitting there since 1959 and ignored? So this is the area that you'll float through when you come down. And then you'll get close to the first trestle bridge. Just beyond it, you can see the Topeka Avenue Bridge. Now, we do have another project, probably a 19 or 20 project, but with the caterpillars, there's the other steel that we want to get to. That's not as bad as where we are. So we're doing number one. This one has enough passage here and up there to get through. But that's our second project on steel. And then once you float by Topeka and you start heading on down, you know where the bend around the Ware River is? It goes around Oakland area and there. So the river starts opening up, and as soon as you get just a little ways, half mile away from the city, you end up in this type of a view. It is absolutely gorgeous. And with what we already have set up, you can float right down here, and then you'll get right down to the bottom of this point right here, access point. This is called the Seward Avenue boat ramp. It's already in place. The county keeps it up. There's a parking lot there. They're already going to be spending money they're talking about lighting and additional gravel for the parking lot and whatnot. And you'll be able to float right down to this very, very pristine, beautiful, natural-looking area and get down there and pull your kayaks out with your trailers and your trucks and trailers, and off you go after a wonderful day on our river. Isn't that a nice story to tell? Did you enjoy that? I hope you did. Thanks very much. Is there any time for questions? One or two? Oh, I don't at all? Yes?
It doesn't have anything to do with, it has to do with the river. The trestle bridge that you showed a couple of slides back has those little boxes on top of the bridge thing. What are those things? Do you know?
Where the trolls live.
That's as good an answer as I can come up. I don't know.
Well, it was designed so that the bridge could be lifted if there's another flood like the 51.
That's right. You're right. That goes, raises it up and down to a certain height. Yeah, they put those in after the flood. Yes?
Your picture is word as the Oregon Trail cross.
All right, so where we put the pop-up park, right there where Beth was standing and what we cleared out, that is the area that the National Park Service, they already came a couple of years back. We had a week-long charrette. And in fact, we just received notice last week that the final plans are completed and they're going to be sent to the city here shortly. But the National Park Service and the research that was done, State Historical Society, you name it, everybody was involved. And we know that there were a number of crossings, but there's no question because of the history of the Pappan brothers that that area, coming right from downtown, that was one of the main crossings of the Oregon Trail. Thousands of people went right through basically our downtown area, right into the river and across onto the north side. So that's being designated as a National Trails Park when it's done. One last question. Yes, sir?
How do you get up and over the levees? And are the levees being altered at all?
In the area where we're doing all of the development, they are doing some work on the side by the Topeka Avenue Bridge. They're putting in what's called a compression berm. In fact, they're working on that right now as we speak. And that is going to add lots and lots and lots of tons of dirt behind the levee to hold it back, to support it against floodwaters coming in at that point. We're working with the city. When you come down the fly-off, the Curtis Street fly-off, off the bridge, you know, the one that takes us to the Great Overland Station? Well, halfway down, on your left, there is already an entry point that the city put in. It's a driveway, and there's 3 big concrete posts there, so you can't drive onto it. But that is getting re-engineered by Bartlett and West, literally as we speak. We look at that as a 19 project. They're going to do a cut-in and a driveway. You'll drive from Curtis right on to the top of the levee, and as soon as you enter the roadway on top of the levee, you will see immediately to your left how there's already a gravel roadway that takes you right down to the floodplain. So it'll be easy access for driving down there for cars, trucks, campers, whatever. Yes, last question? That's it. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
You have such hope and optimism for our community, and we're so grateful for everything that you've done for us. And rather than something you don't want, it is our tradition to donate a book to Ross Elementary School. This one is Be Brave, Little Penguin. So if you'll sign this before you go. And then the other thing is I'd like to give you this year's Rotary theme coin, and it has the 4-way test on the back.
Wonderful.
And you may keep it or you may pass it on. And I would like to personally invite you to become a member of our Rotary Club, and I will sponsor you. So just a couple things. Val told me that the t-shirts, our Rotary t-shirts are here, and if you don't have one, please stop at the back, and we would like for you to wear those at the Freedom Festival. Let's see. Next week, we get a break, and we're going to have our Freedom Festival and no meeting next Thursday. And then the following week, we will meet at the Ramada Regency East, and our program will be our new president, Mark DeGroff, telling us about our 2018-19 year. And I want to say what a privilege it's been to lead our club this year, and it has truly been my honor. So thank you for that. So let's stand and say the Rotary Club.
Madam President?
Yes.
Before you do that, I just want you to know, on behalf of all of the Rotarians here and those not here today, we had fun.
Yeah, so did I. Thank you all. You made it lots of fun. And the things we think, say, or do.
This is the truth.